Welcome back everybody to Fun Factor RC, and today the Wu Motors came in for the 5-inch build. So we're going to see about putting these motors on today. That will make our quad look fancy and look like it's about ready to fly. It'll give us a chance to put some props on there and make it look like it's going to do what it's supposed to do. We'll have to trim some of these wires a little shorter. The distance to our ESC, we'll have to trim this much wire off. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. First thing we need to do is figure out which screws we use, and we don't have any pads, so we're just going to go straight to the frame. I'm going to assume it's going to be the shortest screw. Yeah. I'm going to use the shortest screws we have. That came with it. Don't use these screws. Use, oh yeah, these fit better. Had a mental burp there. I am back conscious with you guys again. We'll put that screw in there. We'll take this screw out, throw it back in the box. This would probably be a good time to remind everybody that when you mount your motors, usually there's a clockwise and a counterclockwise, and you also want to mount your wires running down your frame arm for maximum protection. You don't want your wires sticking out the sides or out the front. These motors did not have a clockwise or counterclockwise. They just had order me. So we just ordered meat. Again, I'd like to remind everybody that I'm fairly new to this, and the parts I get may not be the best parts, and sometimes not even the correct parts, but I'm doing it on a budget and we're working with what we got, and so far so good. It seems to be working. I'm not going to tighten these up all the way. I'm just going to snug them up. I'm not sure if I want to solder like this, which I don't think will be a problem. I can just slip my silicone pad up under there to stop anything from dripping, and I think I can solder with the board right there inside. Might even take this top plate off just to make it more accessible. The motors came with extra clips for the bottom to hold the shaft on, an extra screw, and a nut for the top. And just to fool around, just to see, it's going to look like that. Whoosh, so cool, so cool. Second verse, just like the first, you're going to line your wires down your arm and put in your 4 screws. It may help to put the screw on the screwdriver first instead of using your fingers. That seems to be a little quicker on this one. I even like the color of these motors. That may be the reason why I chose this particular motor. This was a stronger motor. They had a more efficient motor, and it was a different color, like a pink color, and I wanted to go with the blue, even though I got the purple posts on my frame. I just didn't want the pastel pink. I have seen pads that go under the motors to reduce vibration and whatnot. I may look into some of those. You know, I'm fumbling through this, learning as I go, hoping that you can learn as I go. Snug these screws up. Again, I'm not going to go all the way tight because I'm not 100% sure what I'm doing really. Last screw. Very cool. Going kind of finger snug with those. So this is what we got so far, and I hope this is correct. All of these nuts are turning the same way, and I hope that doesn't come into play later. They do lock, so we shall see. I'm going to collect these tiny, tiny little pieces and hold on to them. In my box. Excellent. We will see about measuring it. I'm going to get rid of this top plate. That's going to make life easier. to the side. This got loose on me, so I will tighten that. Keep my screws together and off to the side. Shabam! What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut my wires so that they reach the pads, but I have enough play. I'm going to go with 3/8, a quarter of an inch, 3/8 of an inch, and any, well, yeah, I'm going to measure to the pads and then cut about a quarter inch more. I'm going to keep the wires in line, and I may even try to get fancy with it. Okay. These extra wires I'm going to hold to the side because I tend to make mistakes. I have a pair of pliers here that will remove a tad bit of insulation. I don't want to remove too much insulation. I got a bad habit of just removing a lot of insulation. I used to install car stereos, and I used to work with a totally different, type of wire, type of situation. I'm going to twist those to keep them neat. Set that there to keep those out of the way. I'm going to go ahead and crank up the soldering iron. Get this screw out of this motor. I am going to go wet my sponge for the soldering iron. Just going to show you, these wires I'm going to solder to the board here. What I'm going to have to do is tin these areas, and by tin I mean I'm going to heat them up with the soldering iron and drop a little bit of solder on them so that there is a mound of solder. I will also tin these wires where I feed solder into them wires and get them prepared. That makes connecting the two easier and cleaner. I may also put a piece of shrink wrap over these wires just to make it look cool or keep them from getting snagged. So I'm going to run off and get the sponge wet, and we'll be right back. Well, I don't think the last video recorded, but thankfully we have 3 more motors to do. So we'll do it again. What I'm going to do is I'm going to measure these wires to be slightly longer than they need to be to reach the contacts. This is going to give me room to, I just want to remove just a tad bit from the tips of the insulation. I don't need to expose a lot of wire like I did on that one. That's perfect. I'm going to touch a little solder, tin it, Alright, I just wanted to make sure you guys were still recording. I tinned the end of these wires, and by doing that I started with a clean tip, like so, just like your mama taught you. Clean your tip, put a tad bit of solder on your tip to get it started, touch it to the wire and add a little bit of solder to it. To tin your pads, what we're going to do is clean your tip, of course. I'm going to put a little bit of solder on the very tip. Now the pads have a little hole in the board, and this helps a lot because you just rest your tip, rest your tip in the hole, feed a little solder on it, let go, and you're done. Rest it in the hole, feed a little solder on it, let go, and you're done. Rest it in the hole, feed a little solder on it, and you're done. Alright, what I decided to do on the first one, and I'll do it again on this one, we will straighten the wires out. The length looks good. I got these cool little heat shrinks that have myself convinced is a good thing because it's going to protect the wires. We'll see. Another reminder that I don't know what I'm doing. Thanks for watching. Now let's clean the tip again. I like a clean tip. I'm going to take this wire. Oh yes, don't forget to tin your tip. This helps a lot. Take that wire and lay the wire on top of the tinned pad and touch it with your heating iron until it melts or turns liquid, and then your wire will melt into it and it will make a good connection. I'll do it again here. Place the wire on top of the pad, touch it with your iron, just want to clean that little bit of solder up right there. Alright, that's what I've come up with. I soldered those, give them a little jiggle. They don't move at all. I'm very happy. That's very solid. I'm going to slide this heat shrink to the middle of the wires. Going to do my best to shrink the shrink wrap. Try to get in the back side of them too. You really don't want your flame to touch the heat shrink because it leaves these black char marks, but right now at this moment I'm just trying to get this done. And that's what I've come up with right there. No stress on the wires, they're loose. I can add a zip tie or some black tape here to make the wires hold tighter to the frame. This is, let me cover this up. This is what we're looking like. We're going to make this side look like this side. We are going to end up with some XT60 battery connectors for our leads. I also hope to soon have a radio, a receiver, as well as a buzzer, as well as a camera to install, and that should round us out. Thanks everybody for watching. I hope this video recorded and didn't get messed up like the first one. I appreciate you all. Good night. And this is what we ended up with. We'll be able to snug these down without any stress to the solder joints. We got all the wires soldered on in sequence. They're all in order. We will be able to put our cap back on, and it's going to look like this. Stick some of these things on there and it's going to be awesome. Alright, thanks everybody for watching. This has been part 2 of the 5-inch build.